Okay, guys, we're going to talk about direct variation here. And it really kind of, comes down to uh, this equation right here, uh, which is saying that y varies directly with x. Okay, and m, might be wondering what that is. That's called the constant of variation. Okay, and you can solve these using this. What you got to do is find the constant of variation first, then plug it back into this equation, and then use it to find your solution. Uh, or you've got a second choice, and anything that's direct variation really can just be set up in a proportion. Now, for this, you're not finding the constant of variation, but man, if they don't really ask you for the constant of variation, this is almost probably easier. So I'm going to do both for a while, but then definitely when I get to the story problems here, page 2, I'll probably, guys, just do the proportion. So let's look at this first one. It says y varies directly with x. So I can use this equation, y equals mx. Okay, and it says when y is 15, x is 10. So I'm going to put 15 in here, and then I'm going to put 10 in for x. Okay, and then if I was to solve here for this constant of variation, I would divide both sides by 10, and I would get m is equal to, divide by 5, I get 3 halves. So I know my variation is y equals 3 halves x. Just plugging that m back in here to the formula. So then I can go to what they give me, which is find y when x is 14. So y equals 3 halves times 14. Okay, and then 3 halves times 14, let me see, the 2, the 14 cancel to be 1 and 7, and then 3 times 7, I get 21. And that's perfectly fine way to do it. Or, like I said, you could really just do a proportion here, guys. So my first x here, I can call this my x of 1, is 10. My second x is 14, so I'll do 10 over 14. The first y that they give me is 15. And I know I'm going to go a little bit different than this proportion is, and that's fine. And then the second y is the one they want me to find. And I can just cross multiply here. So 10 times y is 10y, and then 15 times 14 is 210, and I divide both sides by 10, so I get y is 21. And guys, as long as you're consistent in this proportion, x and y, first x, second x, first y, second y, you could be just fine. Okay? Let's look at this next one, which is a little bit different, guys. We're saying a varies directly with b squared. So this would be a varies directly with b squared. So let me tell you, my first a is 12, and then my b is 4, and I got to square that. So 4 squared is 16. And then to solve for m, the constant of variation, I would divide by 16. So I would get, let me see, 4 goes into both of those, 3/4. And so my new equation would be a equals 3/4 b squared. Okay, and then you would simply just take your other part of this, which is find a when b is 6. So find a when b is 6. 6 squared here. 6 squared is 36. Okay, it's 36 over 1. So 1 and 9. And 9 times 3 is 27. So I get A is 27 here. Now, the other thing you can do, once again, is just set it up in a proportion, guys. You can do, now let's remember, A varies directly with B squared. So I'm going to put in A, 12, my first A, and that's my first B, 4 squared. You got to square that, though. Okay, and then I want to find my other A when my other B is 6. I got to square the B because it's B squared. So 4 squared is what, 16? And then A over 36. So I can, really, I can simplify 12 over 16, which really is my constant of variation here. 3/4. So when I cross multiply, I get 4A equals 3 times 36, I believe, is 108. Divide by 4, and magically enough, I get A is 27. So two different ways to look at that, guys, is to either do the constant of variation or do it just setting up a proportion. Okay, this one is a little bit more difficult, guys. M varies directly with 2n minus 3. And I'll probably, let's just do a proportion here. So M is 8, and then n is 1, and I'm going to put it into this equation. 2 times n minus 3 equals, well, they want me to find my other m when n is 3. So 2 times 3 minus 3. And then I just want to solve this proportion. So 2 times 1 is 2 minus 3. So I get negative 1 here. So this is really 8 over negative 1. This is 2 times 3 is 6. Minus 3, which is 3, equals m over 3. Then we want to cross multiply here. So we get negative 1m equals 8 times 3 is 24. Divide by negative 1. And I get m is negative 24. Okay, I think anything that gets a little craziness like this, I just think setting it up in a proportion, guys, is just so easy. You just got to make sure whatever this is, whatever you put in your denominator, or depending on how you're consistent you want to be, wherever you want to put it, as long as you're consistent. Okay, let's look at a couple story problems here. Okay, this says the amount of hydrogen produced is directly proportional to the amount of sodium added. So I'm looking at the hydrogen produced and the sodium added to be proportional. Okay, so the first one they tell me here, and I'm just going to do this in a proportion, which is I have 92 grams of sodium here. So 92 grams of sodium, so I'll put 92 up here. Produces 4 grams of hydrogen. Then it says find the amount of sodium needed to produce 10 grams of hydrogen. Well, let's remember, I put hydrogen on the bottom, so that's where that needs to go. And I want to find sodium, which I put on the top. And then we just cross multiply here, guys. 4x equals 920. We divide by 4. So we get x equals, that would be what, 230 grams. When we take 920 divided by 4. Here's a pretty simple one again, guys. We're just talking about a sales associate makes $400 on a $5,000 sale. So 400 over 5,000 equals how much will he make for a 750 amount. So we'll cross multiply these. So we'll get 400x, 5,000x